You've heard Billie Eilish's song about it, but why did Rome fall? It wasn't destroyed in a day. It took centuries of bad choices. Here are 5 reasons why Rome fell. The first reason is climate change. Okay, not that kind of climate change. We're talking about a mini ice age between 250 BC and 200 BC. Rome experienced a period of intense cold. Historians think this may have been caused by volcanic eruptions in the Middle East or a series of small earthquakes which may have blocked the Mediterranean. Whatever the cause, the effect was real. Crops froze, food became scarce, and people got cold and hungry. But as always, the Romans solved their problems with military solutions. They conquered new lands to grow their empire and grow their food supply. But it was a losing battle against the ice. The colder climate made farming more difficult throughout the empire. Food production never recovered to its former levels and the population began to starve. But then something remarkable happened. In the year 168 BC, the Roman Senate declared an end to slavery in the Roman Empire. You see, over the years, Rome had grown from a small city into a massive empire that stretched across 3 continents, and they did it by conquering other cultures and taking their people as slaves. At its peak, Rome had around 2 million enslaved people, almost half of the entire population. But ending slavery didn't solve Rome's problems. It actually made things worse because now Rome had to feed a bunch of poor, hungry ex-slaves who had no idea how to take care of themselves. Free grain handouts were introduced, but that meant that the government had to take even more land to grow more food. It was a vicious cycle, and by the time Rome was handed the crown jewel of the Mediterranean, Egypt, it was too late. The damage had already been done. Now, although Rome controlled the most productive farmland in the ancient world, they couldn't make the harvests last. The system was just too greedy. Grain shipments would spoil in port because the merchants wanted to make a bigger profit, or local governors would take the grain that was supposed to be shipped to Rome and sell it to the people in their province instead. So as the harvest grew smaller and smaller, Rome grew weaker and weaker. The soil was being used up and there was nothing left to trade. This brings us to our next point: no money. Throughout its existence, Rome relied on foreign trade for wealth. Their colonies produced raw materials like grain, but Rome had to acquire luxury goods like spices or textiles. If they didn't, their empire would grind to a halt. But the frigid temperatures made shipping nearly impossible. Also, since Rome had taken so much land, finding new trade routes was nearly impossible. And without trade, the economy sputtered and the treasury was drained. To make matters worse, the cost of defending the empire was skyrocketing. Now, back in the good old days, Rome maintained a standing army of 25,000 men. But as the empire grew, so did the threat of barbarian invasions. By the 3rd century AD, Rome's army was 500,000 men strong, and all those soldiers had to be fed. Although Rome was willing to pay mercenaries from neighboring tribes to fight in their army, eventually it became too expensive. Rome was bleeding money, and here's where our final nail in the coffin comes in. Rome was just too big. As the empire expanded, the provinces grew further and further away from Rome itself. To rule over that much land, Rome created a complex system of roads and military outposts. That way, messengers could quickly get information from one end of the empire to the other. It worked for a while, but distance also means cultural isolation. As the locals grew accustomed to not hearing from Rome, they began to develop their own customs and traditions. Soon, parts of the empire were ruled by local kings and queens. They became so powerful that Rome had to send armies to keep them in check. But as we've already established, Rome didn't have any money, and so the army became weaker and weaker, making the whole empire more unstable. And that's why Rome fell, or at least that's one of the theories. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss a video. And if you want to learn more about the fall of Rome, thanks for watching. See you next time.